examine us. How many of us respect the rule of law? How many of us will make sure that if Munga has won his election, we shall respect the will of the people? We must ask ourselves, who can you trust that given a position of authority, that individual, he or she, will not in any way misuse the office to visit hell and trouble on other Kenyans because they believe there's a grudge to settle? These are the questions that Kenyans want answered. And they cannot be answered if everybody is not being given space to communicate and articulate their ideas. So I stand here, and the first message is that let us not vote in fear. Whether it is for or against, let us develop a culture where we shall not vote in fear. If we respect constitutionalism, if we respect the rule of law, then nobody has anything to fear. And I want to guarantee to you that the leadership you are seeing in this room does not elicit fear on anybody. And we are not here to sell fear. This initiative is important because it is introducing a new way of interacting, a new way of seizing the leadership that Kenya is going to get. And finally, this process can lead to a very united nation. And I want to take this early opportunity to tell other stakeholders in this country, whether they are at the coast, whether they are in Western Kenya, whether they are in the Rift Valley, whether they are in Eastern Kenya, whether they are in Northern Kenya, let us borrow a leaf from the Mount Kenya Foundation in ensuring that there is proper dialogue without stone throwing, without jeering, but people listening to what others have to say. So we must ask ourselves, what are the real challenges facing us? What are the real challenges facing us? My colleagues have spoken to some of them. But basically, right now, as we move forward, the economy is going to be a big challenge. And I've been speaking to this severally. Do we have a huge public debt? If there's anybody here who does not believe that we have a big public debt, then I don't know where you're living. We have it. So let's work together, put good leadership, and find a solution to that public debt. If we do not, it will consume us. That is why taxes are there, and they're increasing at a higher level, because the burden is big. Munga might now have to shed off some of his staff. Ibui may have to do the same. And indeed, COVID accelerated a lot of problems. Almost 2 million Kenyans lost their jobs. What do we do to give energy to Munga to bring back the ones he had to send home, or Ibui, and at the same time give him energy to employ even more. That is where we should be looking. I want to do something a little bit extraordinary here. Forgive me for this. But I want to request Gibson Gidumbi, if you could just come here. He's a member of the Mount Kenya Foundation. There's a very special reason why I'm requesting him to come here. Because I want us to debunk the message that the Mount Kenya Foundation is a billionaires club. I want people to understand that people have worked to get where they are. This gentleman here was my prefect in Nairobi School. I was his junior, his rebel. Others call him Mono, depending on which school you are in. But why have I brought him here? And listen to me carefully. Because, and bear with me, because it's a very important message for Kenya. Gibson's father had a kiosk at Westlands on Muthithi Road. And my father was also staying in Westlands. The kiosk is the one that educated Gibson. In Nairobi School. And for as long as I can remember, from that kiosk, Gibson was never sent away because his father had failed to pay school fees. Right now, Gibson is a big contractor in this country. Ongata. This is him. From a kiosk to where he is. We can work hard, we can cooperate, we can turn the tables in this country, and everybody will prosper. Thank you. The linkage between Mount Kenya Foundation, and I want to speak to this, the linkage between Mount Kenya Foundation and the other people, we should find a way of bridging this gap. Because there are almost 20 million small and medium enterprises in this country. Those are the juakalis, those are the small traders. Why do they feel they want to resent us? Or they want to resent Mount Kenya Foundation when you should not be resented? It is because somewhere along the line, and the truth be told, some policies have been put in place and they have injured those people, and they tend to look at Mount Kenya as the ones who have hit them. If the Gikomba trader, through the spirit of Harambee or cooperation, were sharing a container under the principle of the less than container load arrangement, and we sit at the Treasury and we put a law that says they cannot cooperate, they can only bring in one container. If not, they are not in business. Gentlemen, who is creating resentment? Why are we setting up some of our people against other hard-working Kenyans? We should not allow this to happen. And that is what One Kenya stands for. We must embrace the big industrialist and also embrace the small business person. What we want to achieve is not a hustling nation. We want to achieve a thriving nation. This is what we want to achieve. So we must change and make sure that farmers are paid promptly for their produce. Whether it is tea, whether it is coffee, whether it is milk. We must make sure that our policemen are paid adequately. Our teachers are paid adequately. We must allow business to grow, and we give them the necessary support to grow. This is the agenda that we should be talking about as a country. At the end of the day, the theme is peace and unity. To achieve growth, you need peace. To have a working economy for everybody, yani uchumi bora na pesa mfukoni, we need peace. However, to sustain the peace, you also need a working economy. They underpin each other. So for us to have peace, let us create jobs for people. For us to have peace, let the boda get the right return from his work. This is what we are going to do. Let everybody get what is rightfully theirs. I had Mugo, who we were in Laikipia with Twitter. He made a point. We want peace. I was in Baruch, in Nakuru, in a village on the hill. Actually, it's an IDP camp. Only 2 weeks ago. After the conflict, 13 years later, not everybody has gone back to their shamba. I came across ladies who are asking me, we don't know who even picks our tea in Baruch. And there are similar cases of this nature. We must have a clear agenda to make sure that we can restore hope in the lives of these people. We must work together so that the pride of Mount Kenya can come back. And what pride am I talking about? Because their pride is Kenya's pride. When a farmer would pay school fees for the child, son or daughter, anaenda kusoma, analipa kwa sababu amepata pesa ya kutosha kutoka maziwa, pesa za kutosha kutoka majani chai, pesa za kutosha kwa kahawa, analipa, and that farmer would be proud and say, mimi nimesomesha mtoto wangu bila basari. Can you imagine that dignity? Mimi nimesomesha mtoto wangu bila basari. Right now, there are legislators here, and you must ask them just one question. If you were to put a benchmark, wouldn't it be interesting to say that this year I had a queue of 100 applicants for bursary, but because the economy has improved, now I have received only 50 applicants, which means you are reducing the queue of those who are dependent. That is where we should be going. What can we do collectively? Borrowing from Equity Bank and others. What can we do to make sure that businessman in Kikomba, in Nyeri, in Meru, can have access to credit at a low interest rate, so that they can feed themselves. This is the connection that seems to be missing between us and the ground today. This is why somebody is finding fertile ground to give a false impression that they have instant coffee solutions for those Kenyans who are suffering. The reality is, he does not have instant coffee solutions. They're not there. So we have to work. We want Kenyans to be persuaded by logic and not by the might of the gun or by the might of the stone. This is what we are looking for. As we move to the end of Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure, we must ask ourselves a few fundamental questions. Who can you trust? Who can you trust? And I repeat, who can you trust with the leadership of this country?